Hey everyone, hope you're having a lovely time. I'm pretty sure I've told this story multiple times, but since every video could be somebody's first video, I want to go back in time a little bit and explain why I made this YouTube channel, because this is not my job. My job is actually I'm a university teacher, and on the side I dabble in music. I used to be a professional musician and a performer and an artist for, I want to say, maybe almost 2 decades, but due to what happened today, several years ago, I decided to take a different route. So let's watch a small portion of one of my earliest, probably like my second or third ever video on this channel, and discuss something. A year ago, we decided to do like this big thing with a concert and an album at the same time, which was going to be awesome. We had everything in it, but unfortunately my government did not like that. For some reason they decided not to help me out. It is not allowed anymore, not only French but most other languages, because of whatever, poor understanding of something. Gotta love this country. In that moment that you watched, I wasn't sure about, I wasn't certain of future or how I would be navigating towards it. But I knew there and then that my old country was no longer going to be my home. I knew back then I needed to move on and away from that, because there were so many tiny little things that were binding me to the ground. Now I'm going to put the full video in the description box, maybe here, but if you want a TLDR, or I guess TLDW of it, I'm from a country where if you want to do any sort of professional musicianship activities, concerts, albums, anything, music videos, you need to go through several vetting processes and several offices, and most primarily the Ministry of Culture. And that means eventually somebody else needs to approve or disapprove of the quality of your work or lack thereof based on their own preferences and their own judgments. You could call it censorship, you could call it monitoring, you could call it whatever you want. But for me, those were my cards, so I had to play the game with these rules. And for many, many, many years, I followed all of the rules. Everything we did was perfectly according to the rules and the Constitution and everything. And it reached a point where at a certain moment, which is like these days, a bunch of years ago, like today is an anniversary of it, well not today, maybe a couple days ago, you know what I mean, they told me you cannot work anymore as under any sort of music activity. You can't sing, you can't play, you can't perform. Even in other people's shows I couldn't play as like a guitar player or a pianist or whatever. I was no longer able to do anything legally as a musician, which essentially meant that I was officially an outlaw, a banned artist. And I had made a lot of my identity based on what I was doing, because from when I was, I guess 14, 15, all the way until like when I was 30 or something like that, this was my entire life. I would wake up thinking about music, I would go to sleep thinking about lyrics, melodies, production, all of that. And suddenly, whoosh, the rug was like pulled, and that was it. That was a coyote moment. I was about to fall. Now, this was not a moment that I had not anticipated. Working as a rock musician in English and in French in a place where none of these things were welcome was essentially sitting on a time bomb. It was never a question of if it's going to happen or not. It was always about the question of when it's going to hit you. Only problem with all of this was its timing, because the day that these things happened was the day that I was waiting to finally publish my own album. Because before that I was working with the band. I was a frontman of Pic Clavier, which was a super successful project for a very long time, until they had to slash that down as well. But that's a different story, and that's a story for a different time. But because I was waiting I had invested a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of energy into that project, and the album, the third album, Identité, that was supposed to be like my big, all right, I've made it moment. Now, I always knew that there would be some kind of a problem. There would always be some kind of a conflict, some kind of friction between what I was doing and what at the time was considered to be appropriate music, whatever you want to call it. That album, that third album, Identité, I had lost a lot of myself in it, and it was a very personal project, because prior to that point, the first album I was just rolling with the punches. I really did not have any specific thing that I wanted to talk about. The second album, I tried to tell some stuff, but it was mostly I just wanted to write music. The third album, the one that really got me into all sorts of, let's call it, trouble, that was the one album I really wanted to show to the world what I was, who I was, and what I was capable of doing, right? And that's why I called it Identity. It was supposed to be about me. However, my identity was outlawed, was banned. It was disallowed publication, release, any sort of conversation regarding it being a legal piece of music. So it was time for me to realize, all right, we need to make a call. We need to make a decision that goes one of two ways. Either live with this situation and hope for something that could happen somewhere down the line, or take chances and try to discover new ground, new earth, so to speak. And so just like that, with a phone call, with a message, with a letter, everything was just upside down. Everything was completely out of focus. Everything was, for me, it felt strange, because at the heart of it, even though those were some very heavy on the heart days for me, things had never seemed clearer. I was experiencing some kind of confusion-infused clarity, if you want to call it that. It's a big thing, it's a weird thing, but everything seemed to fit in the picture that, hey, it's very clear. You are no longer welcome. You are no longer a part of this history. You're no longer a part of this society. You cannot stay here anymore. It's time for you to leave. Everything. I felt like I needed to talk to someone about what I was going through without directly talking about what I was going through. You know, kind of like a hangout, kind of like a vibe check. And so, you know what? At that time, because the people around me, some were just as confused as me, and some couldn't even begin to comprehend what was going on. Like, for them, it was just, sure, do something else. Go find the real job. You know what I mean? The consensus at the end of it was, this was not a real job anyway. Why do you even care this much? And that's because a lot of people who say things like that probably have never done anything truly artistic in their lives. The concept and the notion of creating something like noise from nothing, from thought, that is an idea that I can't explain. It's not like, hey, this like feels like you're having like pizza, or this is like you're driving a super fast car, or you're using you're taking a selfie with a super beautiful phone, whatever. It's not something that you can touch. It's something that you can feel, and it's really hard to talk or go full, like super deep into emotions territory. This is a sentimental thing. And so I said, all right, the best therapy in my mind was if I talked to myself, hence the birth of this like YouTube channel. And this is not like a channel this is not really a thing that I wanted to do for like growth and YouTube algorithm and clickbait and get sponsors, all of that. You know, this is I'm on a good day, I'm a university teacher, I'm an educator, and above all of this, I'm a storyteller. And I started talking to myself, and it worked. And this at its core is the reason why the videos that I've made over the past like 5, 6, 7 years, they don't have the polish, the organization, or whatever you want to call it, system that a typical YouTube video does. They're not supposed to be catchy, to be flashy, to be anything other than a representation of like how I think. Most of these videos, pretty much, I'd say 95% of these videos are the ones that I've made thinking out loud. That's the whole purpose of this. I thought this time, because of what's been happening and like the importance of these days for my personal and professional life, I think I thought of talking about it this way. Gotta make myself a drink. You see, back in the like 3 years ago when I moved to France, I knew that this would be a one-way trip. I knew it. I wanted it to also, hold on. I knew it. I wanted to believe that this is it. This is how I'm going to rewrite myself, reinvent myself, and just make things better for myself, because I was clearly unhappy. I was clearly under some very, very dark influence that would have been the end of me. I didn't want to believe it, but this was the reality of how things were. And so it took me a little while to muster up enough courage to create, finish, and almost ready to play the 4th album, to talk about the 4th album, to talk about the journey, the destination, and the trajectory. And so I'm super excited for what's happening next. As of the filming of this video, I have roughly 6-7 weeks for finishing everything, having the CDs, the posters, the prints, the merch, and the show ready. We're working very hard with the band. We're practicing very passionately with the band. And it's unbelievable to see all of this converging onto a single point. The point, like the terminus, the final stop. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're still watching this video until now, it would be super cool if you could do the YouTube thing, but if you don't, I completely understand. Stay safe, stay sane. Nothing beats a super fresh peach iced tea in a warm summer day. I'll see you very soon. Peace.
M'en manquera toujours.